So we're ready, right, Dan? Oh, by the way. So Dan you gave us the thumbs up, so we're ready to get going here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Campbell. I'm the president of Seneca Lake Guardian and a proud co-founder of the National Coalition Against Crypto Mining. That's kind of a mouthful. Thanks for being here today at the beautiful Finger Lakes Welcome Center on the shores of Seneca Lake, a place that represents what's at stake in our fight for clean water, a pristine environment, and a thriving tourism-based economy, and a future we can be proud of. Unfortunately, we're here to mark an infuriating anniversary. 3 years ago, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation made the right decision denying Greenidge Generation's Title V air permit because it was clearly out of line with our state's climate law. That should have been the end of the story. But instead, here we are 3 years later, almost to the day. Greenidge is still running, burning frack gas, pumping out thousands of tons of greenhouse gases every year, and dumping hundreds of millions of gallons of heated water back into Seneca Lake. Boo. They're polluting with impunity, exploiting legal loopholes to delay accountability and continuing to rake in profits at our expense. Greenidge has made our community a national symbol of how this dirty extractive industry operates, targeting rural areas for cheap power and weak oversight. But what they didn't count on was us. A community that knows what it's fighting for, and we won't back down. Today we stand shoulder to shoulder with residents, business owners, and leaders from across the state and country to send a clear message to New York decision makers: close the loopholes that let polluters like this escape accountability. Thanks for being here, and let's hear from some of the amazing folks on the front lines leading this fight. Okay, first I'm pleased to welcome, we just met, Mary Holland Bavis, who is here today to deliver remarks on behalf of Dr. Anna Kellis, New York State Assembly member representing the 125th Assembly District, and a critical environmental champion and ally for our region and beyond. Thanks for joining us today, Mary.
Hello, thank you. All right, thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. In the heart of the Finger Lakes, a beautiful, treasured region that tragically has become ground zero in the fight against one of the most dangerous, exploitive industries of our time, proof of work cryptocurrency mining. Yeah, boo. 3 years ago, this movement made history. We stood up, we spoke out, we educated the state and the country about what proof of work crypto really is. It's not innovation. It is not job creation. Proof of work crypto mining is a predatory industry that burns fossil fuels, drives up emissions, jacks up energy prices, and poisons our air and water, all for private gain. Because of your work, your organizing, your voices, New York passed the first in the nation moratorium on fossil-fueled crypto mining. And even though that moratorium has lapsed, its legacy is an ongoing opportunity for lawmakers to build on that information to enforce the law and strengthen future protections. Because of your persistence, the Department of Environmental Conservation denied Greenidge's air permit because it clearly violated climate law. Because of you, we've shown other states even the ones that opened their arms to the industry and now live with regrets of their crypto free-for-all, that there is another way. Let's be clear. This is the most successful grassroots environmental fight in New York in a generation, and we should celebrate. But our work is not done, because 3 years later, Greenidge is still operating business as usual. The facility is still burning fracked gas, polluting Seneca Lake, and exploiting legal loopholes to keep raking in profits while ignoring the law of the land. This is not how a functioning democracy works. This is not how we uphold the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. So today, we say, enough. A permit denial should mean shutdown, not business as usual. We need legislation that makes that clear. Senate Bill 6833 would do just that, bridging a gap in New York's clean air permitting process by placing limits on how long polluting facilities like Greenidge Generation can continue operating during permit appeals or while awaiting renewal. No more indefinite appeals while polluters operate under expired permits. No more playing games with our climate and our communities. Right now, we have a powerful opportunity to shape the future. The Department of Environmental Conservation has released a draft environmental impact statement on crypto mining in New York. This is our moment to flood the comment process with the truth about what we've lived, what we've seen, and what's at stake if we let the industry take hold. It is critically important that the study findings highlighting that crypto mining growth in New York State would work contrary to our climate laws are upheld as an undeniable truth and reinforced by our public sentiment. New York is not for sale. So let's finish what we started. Let's shut Greenidge down. Let's pass the laws we need to uphold our environmental protections. Let's stand for our air, our water, our climate, and our future.
7 generations.
Yeah, we've already proven we can win. Now let's do it again. Thank you, everyone, for your hearts, your courage, and your unwavering passion for this critical fight. I'm so honored to be here and fight with you today. Thank you.
Thanks for coming up, Mary, and a big thank you and a shout out to Assemblymember Kellis for us, please. Next, please join me in welcoming Liz Moran. Liz is New York policy advocate at preeminent environmental law firm Earth Justice, a key partner in our fight against corporate polluters in the Finger Lakes. I should mention that Earth Justice has been with us on Greenidge almost from the beginning. So, thanks, Liz.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Liz Moran. I'm the New York policy advocate with Earth Justice. Earth Justice is the nation's largest environmental legal nonprofit. I'm so honored. Thank you all. I'm so honored to be with everyone here today on a beautiful day, but a really unfortunate occasion. 3 years have passed since Governor Hochul and the Department of Environmental Conservation made the right decision by the communities here and our state climate law in denying the air permit for the dirty, polluting crypto mining facility, Greenidge Generation. We should not have to be here today. Just last week, New York faced another heat wave. It's becoming an annual occasion for New York to face heat wave after heat wave, smoky air from wildfires in Canada, in California, in New York. We are choking from inaction. We cannot afford inaction. New Yorkers are counting on Governor Hochul and our legislature to step up. Communities shouldn't have to keep facing what the Finger Lakes communities are facing with Greenidge Generation. A permit denial should mean a permit denial.
Amen.
Yes. There's been a lot of talk of affordability in politics as of late, but here's what we can't afford. Here's what New Yorkers can't afford. We can't afford pollution from private corporations for their own gain while we all suffer from their noise, from their raising our energy costs, and from the dirty air and water pollution that they cause. Crypto mining jeopardizes not only our local communities, it jeopardizes our landmark state climate law. It is so energy consumptive that we're going to cause more pollution in other communities. Greenidge is just the tip of the iceberg. It's been a test case, and New York State passed the first part of the test, but the job is not done. We are counting on Governor Hochul to ensure that this plant gets shut down and that communities around the Finger Lakes are protected, and that we don't continue to see repeat cases of this. It's time for New York State to step up and do what people expect of a state like New York, and that's to lead and protect the public over corporate interests. As everyone's here saying, it's time to make sure we're enforcing our landmark climate law. Thank you all so much. I'm honored to be here today, honored to be with these communities. Let's keep fighting.
Thanks for coming out. I don't know, it was probably a long drive, but we really appreciate it, Liz. And that was awesome. I'm pleased to welcome Vinnie Alaperti, co-owner of Billsboro Winery, a leader in the Finger Lakes, world-renowned wine industry, and a shining example of sustainable business management. Vinnie.
Thanks, Joseph. Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, I think we all know this already, but we need to extend another round of applause to Yvonne and Joseph. I mean, if not, I mean, if they had not stepped up, I mean, who would, right? Who would? Probably nobody, unfortunately, and we would be a lot worse off than we already are. But thank you, Joseph and Yvonne, for your courage. So anyway, yes, my wife and I own Billsboro Winery. We're one of many wineries in the Finger Lakes. And, you know, as many wineries, we try to do our best to be sustainable, you know, to do the bare minimum, you know, composting and recycling and, you know, using lightweight glass. I mean, you know, everybody could do their part. And we do try our best to do that. Yet despite those efforts, Greenidge, you know, as we've heard over and over, their air permit was denied 3 years ago, and we are forced to watch as they threaten the delicate ecosystem of our renowned agricultural region. Even as the permit was denied, Greenidge has increased CO2 emissions, as you can see by this wonderful graph here, by nearly 30,000 tons, more than 7% increase in 2024 alone. Accelerating the climate shifts that make growing conditions, growing grapes, growing any agricultural product for that matter, more volatile, while we are left to deal with the consequences. So it's not just carbon emissions that we're worried about. I mean, even though that is the big concern, thermal pollution, as we know, is a big concern. But as was just recently unveiled in a study, Greenidge is also raining down toxic pollutants over vineyards, over area vineyards and residents, including formaldehyde and benzene. So yeah, it's complicated. It's a toxic mess that we're all living through here. So air dispersion modeling identified 32 nearby vineyards that are within the radius of Greenidge. So sad stuff. Anyway, the economic ripple effects are enormous. Agriculture is the backbone of this region, as anyone who's been here for 5 minutes can tell. It's not just winemakers, it's the farming industry. Fruits, vegetables, grains. Of course, tourism is our lifeblood. Agritourism is really the number one, I'd say, economic engine among the top economic engines of the Finger Lakes wine industry. Yeah, we wouldn't be here without the tourists that come here. I mean, who could forget last summer and the mess on Seneca Lake last August? The greening of Seneca Lake. I mean, that was pretty hard to look at, and that went on for days and days and days. And I don't know, anyone who was here during that time, I'm not sure would be too inclined to return to the Finger Lakes. So people come to the Finger Lakes because of its natural beauty. Yeah, for sure. Clean lakes, mostly, and the world-class food and wine. But how long will they come, right, if polluters are allowed to degrade the environment? The environment is the core of what we do as winemakers. We are lucky to operate somewhere as luscious as Seneca Lake. The beauty of the Finger Lakes is an essential part of what makes the region special. It's really our brand, right? The environment, the ecology of the Finger Lakes is our brand. I mean, just let that sink in. All of that is at risk, not for public benefit, not for good jobs, but for private crypto mining that is basically using that burns fracked glass. So in closing, that's why we're calling on New York State to stand up to big polluters like Greenidge. This is not just about a permit. It's about protecting an economy that depends on a healthy environment. It's simple. It's about preserving the Finger Lakes for the next generation of winemakers, farmers, business owners, and families. The DC did its job, denied Greenidge its permit, but the company is still taking advantage of every loophole to keep polluting while it appeals. A permit denial should mean shutdown, as we've said over and over, not business as usual. So we call on everyone here and, of course, in Albany, the DC lawmakers, it's time to act now. Shut down Greenidge and protect what makes the Finger Lakes thrive. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny. Billsboro Winery, just as an example of the kind of work they're doing, is a past Governor's Cup winner. Vinny brought it on a bus trip to Albany with us 1 year. So Vinny's been working hand in hand with us for quite a while. Please welcome Jackie Sowicki, a founding member of the National Coalition Against Crypto Mining and a recent transplant from Texas. Her advocacy against the crypto mining industry has been absolutely critical to protect communities across the country and to raise public awareness. Jackie.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up, speaking out, and pushing back. I'm a freshly minted New Yorker here to share a warning from the front lines of this industry's unchecked expansion in the South. My husband and I recently left Texas because we had to. We were watching in real time as crypto mines threatened our community's environment, health, energy infrastructure, and basic quality of life. We made the decision to leave behind everything familiar in order to escape the devastation that this industry is unleashing across the once great state of Texas. Where we lived in Navarro County, the world's largest Bitcoin mine is currently being built. 1 gigawatt of power. A multi-billion-dollar corporation, Riot Platforms, is built, and it's a prime example of how this industry operates. Companies like Riot will swoop into rural areas, small communities with little to no public notice, often behind closed doors in secret. They target areas with cheap energy, cheap land, underfunded, and uninformed local governments, and they exploit every loophole they can find. If you know anything about the Texas grid, you know that it's fragile. Now, with the rising demand of Bitcoin mining in Texas, they'll need to double their energy consumption by the year 2030. It's only 5 years. This industry operates like an unregulated digital casino that most of us don't even play in, yet we're all footing the bill. I'm disheartened to watch the same story play out in New York. This time, however, the state did the right thing. They denied Greenidge its air permit. But thanks to a series of delays and loopholes, it's business as usual for this earth-destroying industry. These companies make a lot of promises. They promise local officials that they'll bring jobs and innovation, but what they deliver instead are tax breaks for billion-dollar corporations, higher utility costs for everyone, a financial tool for criminals, and devastating harm to local resources and residents. To be clear, there is no public good in this industry. 90% of Americans don't understand or don't like crypto. So why are we letting it run rampant and unregulated across the country? Crypto claims to be the future of wealth in America. But what it's really doing is stripping away our true wealth: clean air, clean water, energy, and climate stability. It's doing all this so that a small number of already fabulously wealthy men can reap even more money. Right now, we have leaders from the White House to local municipalities who are championing this industry and actively trying to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. We can't let this happen. Just this week, Finger Lakes One printed a PR piece about Greenidge helping meet energy demand because they can shut off really quickly. So my analogy for this, and excuse me, it's a little grotesque, but a murderer is strangling you, and then they loosen their grip around your throat and say, "Look, I'm helping you breathe." And a lot of times they ask for payment to shut down. That's the Bitcoin mining way. Solve a problem that they first created and then act like they're all doing us a favor. We don't be fooled by this greenwashing and myth-making. This is categorically awful, and the media should be ashamed for laundering it. I'm proud to stand here. I am so proud and honored to be standing here with these giants of organizing. Y'all have done so much, and I just couldn't be more proud and honored. And I am here with y'all now in New York, and I'm here to stand with y'all all the step of the way. Shut it down.
Thanks, Jackie, and welcome to the great state of New York. Before we go any further with our list of slate of speakers, I did want to give a big shout out to two of our people on the team at the public relations firm Berlin Rosen that help us get this event, get this kind of industry out there. Meg and where'd Meg go? There's Meg and Jaylee. Drove all the way up here from New York City to be at this event. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, let's give a big round of applause to Dan Rappaport of Dan Rappaport Consulting, who's doing the technical stuff that we don't know how to do. I wouldn't have a clue. But yeah, thanks, Dan. He's a trooper. Please join me in welcoming Ellen Campbell. That's Campbell, not Campbell. My last name is Campbell, so I can make that joke. Ellen's a Seneca Lake resident and an advocate for a healthier, more sustainable future for the Finger Lakes. So, Ellen.
Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Campbell, and I live in the town of Torrey, right on the shores of Seneca Lake. I'm here today not just as a resident, but as someone whose family has been deeply involved in pushing back on Greenidge's ongoing destruction of this incredible place we call home. My husband and I have worked very hard over the years to have a modest home on Seneca Lake. It's my forever home, one we hope to leave to our children and our grandchildren to enjoy. We choose to retire here because this place is special. The Finger Lakes are beautiful. And what's more, it's vital to New York's economic and ecological success. The Finger Lakes provide clean drinking water to over 100,000 people. They support $4 billion in tourism economy. We're home to wildlife, farms, families, and yet Greenidge continues to treat Seneca Lake like an industrial free-for-all for private profit. We've heard all of the Greenidge donations, their supposed carbon offsets in California most recently, and about the energy they're sending back to the grid. But let's be clear, that's greenwashing. No amount of tree planting 3,000 miles away is gonna undo the damage in our air, our water, and our health here, right here at home. And there is a noise issue. Possibly it's because of the combination of the turbines and the cooling and the clatter of the Bitcoin mines. But there's definite hum that can clearly be heard by many of the residents, especially on the water, And even more so, there is noise pollution to those living very close to the plant. Based on Greenidge's public relations, Atlas Holdings and Greenidge call themselves anchors of the community. In reality, they're a corporate bully. They found a power plant in a typical small town with few resources. Their offer was to provide power to the area by upgrading the power plant to fracked gas, which they call clean energy, with all of the help of a New York State grant and a pilot payment in lieu of taxes. Between the school in 2024 and the county in January of this year, Greenidge paid roughly $37,000 in taxes. Their predecessor paid upwards of $600,000. So, yeah. So what did they contribute? They contributed $25,000 of a Jaws of Life device for Dresden Fire Department. That was good. They contributed a digital village sign, which in my humble opinion is totally in the wrong place in our little small lake town. That's not partnership. That is not an anchor partner. The wineries are the anchor. The restaurants are the anchor. The lake rentals are the anchor. The hotels, the lakes themselves are the anchor. And these anchors are at risk if damage to our nearly pristine environment continues. Greenidge is not an anchor. They are not a partner. They're a parasite. And I'm begging our electric officials to do your job and stop them. We're your constituents. Save our lakes, save our water, save our health. That's your mission. So here's what really gets me. It's 3 years since they denied the permit. And why? Because there's a loophole in the current law that allows their stable of savvy attorneys to continue to put hurdle after hurdle in the form of appeals. The last one is now set for January 2026. If we don't stop Greenidge now, we're sending a message to every other fossil fuel plant in the state. Go ahead, fire up the turbines, burn the gas, pollute the lakes. There will be no enforcement. There will be no accountability. That cannot be New York's legacy, a state that has otherwise led the nation in our commitment to environment, sustainability, and quality of life. I'm proud to stand with my neighbors and fellow advocates who are fighting to close this dangerous loophole and make sure New York can uphold its climate laws. It's not just a local issue. It's a test of whether New York will protect its people, its water, and its climate, or sell them off to the highest bidder. I won't stop fighting until Seneca Lake is safe again, and I know this community won't either. Thank you.
We won't stop till they stop. We won't stop till they stop. We won't stop till they stop. Hey. Woo. Yay. Where'd that come from? Thanks, Ellen. That was great. That was now we'd please help me welcome Irene Weiser. Irene is a coordinator of Fossil Free Tompkins and a longtime advocate and change maker in the Finger Lakes region. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here and for being out here in this heat for something that matters so much to all of us.
Unless you're from Texas and then it's cold.
So count it with me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's been 3 long years since the DEC did the right thing and denied Greenidge their air permit. That decision was rooted in science, law, and the public good. The DEC correctly found that Greenidge's operations were incompatible with New York State's climate law. It was clear you can't meet our climate goals while letting a fossil fuel crypto mining operation belch out carbon dioxide 24/7. And yet, here we are. 3 years later, Greenidge is still running, still burning frack gas, still pumping billions of pounds of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, still sucking up millions of gallons of water every single day from Seneca Lake, and discharging it hotter, threatening wildlife, degrading water quality, and undermining one of the most treasured and economically vital natural areas in New York State. And all of this for what? For Bitcoin. Not for food or shelter, not for public health or emergency services or affordable housing, but for Bitcoin. A digital commodity with no inherent value, no oversight, and no public benefit. It's a useless, speculative, volatile asset that enriches a few at the expense of the many. And let's be clear, we are all paying the price. We're paying it in increased emissions, we're paying it in a degraded lake, we're paying it in the betrayal of local communities who were promised jobs and prosperity, but instead got noise, water extraction, and skyrocketing electric costs. And we're paying it in lost time, time that we can't afford to lose if we're to meet our climate goals. And why is this happening? Why is Greenidge still operating? Because of their delay tactics, because of legal loopholes, because a company with deep pockets has learned how to game the system and how to appeal, stall, litigate, and exploit every inch of regulatory gray area while continuing to pollute in plain sight. This is not just a legal failure, it's a moral one. When a state agency makes a decision grounded in law and science, and a private company is allowed to ignore that decision for years, what does that say about our system? What does it say to the homeowners asked to conserve energy, to the small businesses trying to comply with climate regulations, and to all of us who are buckling under the weight of increased energy costs? What it says is this: rules are optional if you're powerful. We cannot let that message stand. We are here today to say, enough! Enough delay. Enough. Enough pollution. Enough pollution. Enough pretending that Bitcoin is worth destroying our Finger Lakes for. Enough. Enough corporate maneuvering to buy time while the planet burns. Enough. We call on Governor Hochul. We call on the DEC. We call on the Attorney General. Enforce the law. Shut it down. This is not just about a power plant. It's about whether we are serious, truly serious, about our climate goals, and whether we're willing to stand up to bad actors. It's whether we value our lakes, our airs, our communities, and our future more than a speculative digital currency. The Finger Lakes should not be a sacrifice zone. They are home to families, farmers, winemakers, small businesses, and generations of stewards who have cared for this land and water. We won't be that generation that looked away. We will be the ones who stood to say, not here, not anymore. We call on every elected leader across the state, enforce the law, shut it down. And so today, together, let's say it out loud. When corporations pollute our lakes, shut them down. When they burn fossil fuels for fake money, shut them down. When they ignore the law and defy the people, shut them down. And when government drags its feet while our climate future hangs in the balance, shut it down. This is our water, our air, our future. We are not backing down. Governor Hochul, hear our voice. It's time to shut it down. So there's a few people scattered about that have little green slips of paper, and I'd like you to start distributing them. You've heard earlier some speakers mention that there's legislation coming up that could help close the loopholes, and there's also a publication by the Department of Environmental Conservation on the environmental impact of crypto mining. We've been waiting a long time for this, and they're going to be opening it up for public hearings soon. So what I'd like to invite everybody to please do is log into this network. It's just a quick Google form On the green sheet, it tells you how to log in at a bit.ly link, bit.ly/no crypto, or use the QR code, and it'll both will take you to the form, the Google form. Please sign up, and we will send you information and talking points to help move this forward. So thank you all for please signing up today, and stay tuned because the hearings are coming up in about a week and a half. So we really need to get on this. We will send you talking points. Sign up for the mailing list. Thanks.
That was great, Irene. Wow. Powerful. Before we go on to our final speaker, I just want to also shout out to the 4 stalwarts that are holding our canopy from blowing away. And they've been standing there this whole time holding that thing. You're the anchors. Yeah. Who said that? And also, the work that Seneca Guardian does, some of it doesn't come cheap. You know, we appreciate every dollar that we get from the public. That's what helps keep us going and pay for things like this and for public relations work and legal work. We have, you know, some pretty significant costs associated with legal representation on Greenidge. So Jean in the pink hat has a donation box. If you find it in your in your heart to dig down and put a couple of bucks in that donation box, we truly appreciate it. And so without further ado, pardon? Oh yeah, and she's got some nice bumper stickers there too. There's one of does she have the ones for the Finger Lakes? They're up here. Just help yourself to a bumper sticker. And finally, please join me in welcoming the inimitable and in some places infamous Yvonne Taylor, Yvonne's vice president of Seneca Lake Guardian, a founding member of the National Coalition Against Crypto Mining, and a tireless champion for environmental advocacy in the Finger Lakes. Yvonne.
Thank you, Joseph, and thank you, everybody, for being here today. We're here today because 3 years ago, we were celebrating the DEC's denial of Greenidge's air permit on the grounds that it violated New York's climate law. And yet, here we are, 3 years later, and this fossil-fueled Bitcoin mine is still operating. How is that possible? Because Greenidge has exploited legal loopholes and dragged out its appeal process, continuing to burn fracked gas, pump millions of pounds of carbon into our atmosphere, discharge overheated water into Seneca Lake, and disrupt our community with non-stop industrial noise, all while turning a profit. And only a few weeks ago, as Ellen mentioned, they filed yet another appeal, claiming that the DEC doesn't have the authority to deny permits under the climate law, which, by the way, is preposterous and has already been shot down in the courts several times. But this isn't just about one facility on the shores of Seneca Lake. It's about whether New York will find the means to enforce its own climate law by shutting these loopholes down. If every polluting corporation that gets its Title V air permit denied under the climate law follows Greenidge's playbook, appeal the decision, operate indefinitely, and keep on polluting, then New York will never meet its climate goals. That's why we need real reform. Senator Harcum introduced legislation that would close a major loophole in New York's clean air permitting system by limiting how long polluting facilities like Greenidge can keep operating while they appeal a permit denial or wait for a renewal. This is the kind of common sense thinking we urgently need. We're outraged by the fact that even after its permit was denied, Greenidge's emissions have kept on increasing, that even after its permit was denied, Greenidge is operating more days of the year. We're outraged that Greenidge is still sucking up 139 million gallons of Seneca Lake water every day and dumping it back in hot at temperatures up to 108 degrees Fahrenheit. We're outraged that Greenidge spilled gallons of something into the lake just on June 17th. And area residents still don't know what it was or how it impacted their drinking water. We're outraged that Greenidge's permit was denied 3 years ago, and they're spewing poisons onto homes and farmlands, even as far across the lake as Romulus. We're outraged at the fluffed up propaganda and the greenwashing they spew out to the public. There goes my mermaid sign. They're spewing out greenwashing to the public, which is as toxic as the poison they expose us to in the air. Enough is enough. Shut it down. I'm so proud to be a part of this amazing community. We've stood up to Greenidge at every turn when they tried to delay hearings, when they tried to shut our community out of the process, and we'll keep showing up and fighting until this facility is shut down for good. Because what's at stake isn't just a permit, it's our lake, our climate, and our future. We didn't ask to be ground zero for Bitcoin mining in New York. Greenidge came here looking for a cheap way to feed its greed and conned a town with lax oversight into it. But what they didn't count on was all of us, a community of fierce, determined protectors who love this place too much to give up. New York must stand its ground. We are already falling behind in our climate goals, and if we don't hold the line here, we risk opening the floodgates for more polluters to follow suit. To Governor Hochul, to the DEC, to every policymaker watching, keep upholding the law. Strengthen it. Protect your constituents and shut Greenidge down. And to everyone here today, thank you. I'm going to try not to turn on the waterworks, but every letter, every signature, every rally, it matters. Your voice matters. And we won't stop fighting until the Finger Lakes is free from this and all other corporate menaces once and for all. Thank you.
Just think about it. It was 2017, was it, that the DEC denied the permits for the LPG storage facility down those caverns down near Watkins Glen. 3 years ago, they denied the air permit for Greenidge. Somebody wanted to build a massive garbage burning incinerator in Romulus, about halfway down this side of the Seneca Lake, and there was a huge public outcry, and that got defeated as well. So we have a pretty good track record here in the Finger Lakes, and it's because of all of you, the people that show up for these rallies. So give yourselves a big round of applause. Give the amazing speakers that we had today a big round of applause. And I can open it up for questions from the press, if there are any. No questions from the press? Yeah, not much to add, I guess, right? Well, I guess if there are no questions, thank you all again for coming, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We got really lucky today. A few days ago, it's 80% chance of showers and thunderstorms, and that all changed. So somebody's looking out for us, right? Thanks again.